So, China has been buying up a lot of gold lately. So much gold, in fact, that the price of gold in Shanghai now exceeds the price of gold in London by a pretty significant margin. And this premium on gold in China means that gold may begin to flow from west to east. And this situation could have some very significant implications for the price of precious metals, both gold and silver, moving forward. So that's what I want to talk about in today's video, and also what the motivation is for the Chinese to be acquiring all of this gold. So let's get to it.
Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Do want to say a big thank you for tuning into today's video. If you get some value from it, please do give it a big thumbs up down below. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos like this one? Okay, so this is the headline that we got from Bloomberg News yesterday. Chinese gold fetches huge premium as demand improves. And the gist of this article is that in Shanghai, the price of gold is about $43 higher than it is in London. And a premium like that on gold in a market like Shanghai is pretty important, because what that does is it opens up an opportunity for traders to arbitrage the difference in the price between the markets. So you can go to London, you buy an ounce of gold, you take it to Shanghai and you sell it, and you get $43 for doing so. And what this means is that we're going to be seeing a flow of gold from west to east. And given the overall geopolitical climate, it is not hard to imagine why those in China might want to accumulate gold. And possibly the Chinese government is also playing a role in this. Certainly, I'm sure that they have some influence on the price of gold in Shanghai. At the very least, they could just be buying gold themselves to drive up the price. And it's probably some combination of that, along with Chinese middle-class citizens wanting to protect their purchasing power and stock up on gold, like at this gold shop at Beijing's International Airport. Why is China doing this? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit as we move along here in the video. But I do also want to draw your attention to this article, why China may soon reveal astounding gold reserves. And this is from asiamarkets.com, and this is based off of an interview with market analyst Francis Hunt. You can see his work over at themarketsniper.com, but I just want to read to you a little bit about what he has to say about the situation in China regarding gold. He points out here that the gold is going from west to east, and there is a discount window, in his opinion, that is being held open, and as a result, they have a manufactured gold window. And so I believe what he's talking about here is that the Chinese, they may be buying gold, the government, in order to influence that premium on gold in Shanghai that we are witnessing. And the obvious result of that is that gold is going to be flowing from west to east. He goes on to say here that what we are watching is a transfer of wealth, and we're seeing that transfer going to the communist states. So he does fear for our quality of life, our levels of freedom in the realm where our money is held by one of the most draconian governments. But I'm sad to say that's the flow of real gold. And then there's some speculation here in this article as to why China is hoarding this gold. Now, this guy Francis Hunt, he believes that this has to do with the rolling out of a central bank digital currency, and that the Chinese and their geopolitical allies may be backing a central bank digital currency with gold. And there is certainly some evidence to that effect. It was just a couple weeks ago that Vladimir Putin was talking about creating his own Moscow world standard. And also there's a lot of speculation that these countries, the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, all of which are big gold producers, by the way, that they may be coming out with their own currency to compete with the dollar. And if you really want to put out a world reserve currency that's going to compete with the dollar, I don't think a fiat currency is going to cut it. And so these nations may be looking at backing that new world reserve currency with commodities, possibly gold, possibly silver, possibly some other stuff as well. And all of this has to do with the ongoing de-dollarization efforts by Russia and China. This is an article I've mentioned before. It's titled De-Dollarization Efforts in China and Russia, published July 23rd, 2021 by the Congressional Research Service. And I'll put a link to this article in the description of this video. It's definitely worth a read. But the idea here is basically that for more than a decade, China and Russia have been trying to subvert the dollar's role as the global world reserve currency. And I believe that now we are entering a new phase of this plan, one where they're getting ready to roll out some meaningful alternative to the dollar. And, when are we going to see that exactly? Well, it's hard to say. Both Russia and China, I think, are playing the long game here. But the fact that China is accumulating all of this gold, I think, certainly points to a move somewhere in the near future. And clearly, Russia and China are working together here. This is an article I covered recently on the channel, but I think it's worth revisiting in light of the developing situation regarding China and gold. And this is that China has begun importing a tremendous amount of Russian gold in recent months. In July, there was a 750% increase from June in imports of Russian gold into China. And then if you look at year over year, the increase is more than 4,800%. So in July of 2022, China imported 4,800% more gold from Russia than they did in July of 2021. A lot of that has to do with the ban on the importation of Russian gold in the West as a result of the sanctions on Russia from the whole Ukraine war situation. The fact that that gold is now all being accumulated in China, I think ultimately is probably going to work in their favor. And this is kind of another example of the West cutting off its nose to spite its face with these sanctions. And, we're basically just giving the Chinese a discount on that Russian gold. But the Chinese appetite for gold clearly is insatiable, and that is why those premiums there are getting so high. And today, gold is down in a pretty big way. Just about everything in the market's selling off. We're seeing a sea of red. All the major stock indexes down. Gold's down, silver's down, crude oil's down more than 5%, down under 80 bucks. So, maybe the Biden administration is going to come in and start refilling the strategic petroleum reserves. That might drive that crude oil back up. But I really think that today's drop in gold and the current price that we're seeing in gold of under 1,700 is a pretty big opportunity. And similarly in silver, silver's also taking it on the chin today, under $19 again, down almost 5% in today's trading session. And a lot of this has to do with the recession fears brought on by a hawkish Fed and Fed rate hikes, but a lot of that is predicated on the idea that the Fed is actually going to manage to continue their inflation fight and get inflation under control. But I think there could be some developments here that prove that that is going to be a lost cause. And one of the things that could really reveal the Fed's inability to fight inflation could be something like a BRICS currency or a Chinese central bank digital currency backed by gold, because that is going to really hurt the dollar. And I expect that that is going to put a lot more inflationary pressures on us here in the West. And when that happens, it's likely also that the price of gold and silver are going to be moving much higher, along with everything else. So I view today's pullback as a big buying opportunity. None of this is ever financial advice. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. But I think I might be taking advantage of this pullback to accumulate some more physical precious metals. And, gold and silver, basically the most undervalued assets in the world at this moment. If you can think of anything cheaper or more undervalued given the geopolitical situation and the economic situation around the world, let me know in the comments down below, because I always like to hear what you have to say. And thank you all very much for watching. I will catch you next time. Smart Silver Stacker, out.